Many of us are just like Moses. We make a lot of mistakes. We think we have a word of faith. We wish we were something. We wish we were something other than who we are. But we still what? We still make mistakes. Look at your seatmate and say, it's all right to make mistakes.
It's alright.
It's all right to make mistakes.
It's alright, you're a mistake.
Imagine that. Moses, a friend of God, committing mistakes and then running away. How did he receive such a great certification? How did he receive such a great compliment from God? How did he become one of those men who is in that list of Hebrews 11, the Hall of Fame of the men and women of faith? If Moses qualified, we're qualified. Look at your seatmate and say, you're qualified.
You're qualified.
Thank God we are, huh?
You're overqualified.
Next thing. A life of faith starts with change. One choice, one action, one attitude, one thought. It leaves a distinct mark on the life of those it touches. So Moses was there after he met this girl at the well. The girl brought the guy to the dad and said, Dad, I met this guy and this guy helped me out. And he helped me water the sheep. And then the priest of Midian, Jethro, said, okay, where's this man? Why did you leave him outside? Bring him into our house. And then when Moses went in, he said, what do you want? And he said, well, all I want is a place to stay. And then later on, Jethro said, okay, since you're helping me out, why don't I give my daughter to you in marriage? And he learned something little by little. He was brought to a place in the wilderness where all he would speak to day in and day out is a sheep. I don't know if you ever experienced having sheep or if you have ever experienced taking care of livestock. It's not easy. When I left full-time ministry a few years back, and I went home to the land that we had, which is now my dad's farm. It used to be my farm, now it's his farm. I took care of goats and ducks and all those chickens and stuff. And when I finally realized if you're taking care of livestock, you don't have enough sleep. You're always up at night because you want to make sure that the neighbors don't steal whatever you have. You are awake at night because you want to make sure that the snakes don't come and eat your chickens. You are up at night because you want to make sure that the dogs of the neighbor don't eat the chicks or have them as dinner. You want to make sure that they don't eat each other, because I had about 4 dogs and about 4 goats, and I had over 150 of the Filipino chickens and about 100 of the Jewish chickens. So I had the Gentiles and the Jews. Yeah, they call it kabir from Israel. So they were growing that big, and they ate so much, but they couldn't fly so high because they were so heavy, and they were as big as turkeys. So I said, wow. So I had a separate cage, one for the Jews and the next for the Gentiles. And it was not easy. I had to wake up at 2 a.m. just to make sure that I would pray first and I would read. And at 4 a.m. I had to make sure that I would shovel all the bird poo out and put it into a compost post and use it as fertilizer because I planted also a lot of trees. And by 7 a.m. I have to make sure that my kids are ready for school, and I would drop them off at school by 8 and then be back. Make sure that everything else is arranged. Then I bring out the goats. And I keep an eye on it. And you can't blink, because the moment you blink, someone else might get your goats. You lose it.
Like the rapture.
So Moses was like that, and he said, 40 years I'm here, and all I see is these sheep who look at me and go, bah. No TV, no internet, no nothing. No cable, no nothing. He was saying, wow, 40 years and 40 nights, all I have is this. And then he sees a burning bush on the mountain. And he says, wow, burning bush. So he calls all the sheep, hey guys, let's go! And he walks slowly with all the guys up the mountain to see that burning bush. And then God speaks to him. Sometimes it comes to a point where you don't know where you're going, and all you think of is that you're in a boring place, and all you have from the people around you is bah. They look at you, and you know what? The sheep are the dumbest creatures on the earth. And sometimes you look around and you're saying, why am I with a bunch of... Never mind. You say, what has happened to my life? This is not what God has planned for me. But many times, faith starts with what? Change, one choice. He said, I'm going to make sure that if ever I go back to Egypt, or to go back to that land, or to my people, he said, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to think about it. I'm going to be slow. I'm going to make sure that this time I don't act before I think about it. And he changed one choice. He made one action, one attitude, and one thought. He had 40 years to think about everything he went through. And for 40 years, if you don't talk to people and all you talk to are sheep, everything you learn from the University of Egypt is gone. Next, please. Faith never gives up but expects a better future. He was still there thinking, hey, this is okay, so now I have as many sheep as I have, and I am getting into this business of making wool and having all these sheep and having food and all that stuff. So it's okay. But he said, I know that God has something better. In his heart, there was something in him. Because if there was nothing in him, that means he wouldn't even have the faith to believe God, and God would never show him that burning bush. God saw something in him. He knew that even though he was in a place where there was no one who would worship God, he was there, and he never broke faith with God. In those 40 years where he never received a message or someone that he could commune with, he was there and he made sure he would commune with God. He said, if there's no one else going to commune with God, I will. I